So as I was trying to come up with videos that were not related to making fun of fanboys on Twitter and doing topical things based on stuff that people care about, I came across the idea in my brain to talk about Blackout. Black Ops 4 Blackout, the first Call of Duty Battle Royale, and to many people, the best Call of Duty Battle Royale, and a game that was so utterly botched and mishandled by Activision that frankly, in my opinion, as you can see by the video title, Activision killed this game before it ever had an actual chance at success. And I don't know if it's the fact that Warzone 1 has recently shut down, I don't know if it's the fact that Warzone 2's new version is coming out, or maybe it has come out, I don't know. I'm recording this on November 21st, and frankly, I just don't care anymore about Warzone, which sucks because I actually really liked Warzone for the first year and a half-ish. I thought it was a really good game. It was a solid follow-up to Blackout, but I'll admit that I just have not cared for going on 2 years now. But I think the story of Blackout is worth preserving, and as someone who was a really big Call of Duty player on console but then switched to PC roughly a year before the launch of Black Ops 4, I think the perspective of the PC player and of the PC Battle Royale game genre shooter fan, not to sound self-important, but I think my perspective and the perspective of a lot of other people in my, circle of gaming, the PC players who were really invested in online shooters and who were really invested in the rise of Battle Royale games with games like PUBG and H1Z1 and early Fortnite, I think that perspective is a very telling one, because everyone can agree that Blackout was utterly mishandled, but I think the PC version of it specifically is the one that stings the most. So in this video, I'm just going to give you a nice little history lesson of Black Ops 4's Blackout and how Activision completely shit the bed on this. But first, some context, because the context here is important. Like I said, the Battle Royale genre really blew up on the PC before it came to console. Everyone seems to have their own idea of what really was the start of the Battle Royale genre. Some people will say Minecraft Hunger Games, other people will say H1Z1, which is where I got into the genre. And obviously PUBG absolutely exploded. So, PUBG obviously wasn't the first Battle Royale game, but it was the first, mainstream, super successful Battle Royale game. I guess maybe with the exception of, late 2016, early 2017 H1, but that's a debate that we can have somewhere else. The point is, the place for Battle Royale games was the PC. If a Battle Royale game was going to blow up, it was going to blow up on the PC first. That's kind of just the way it was. That's not me trying to act like a PC elitist or anything. That literally is just the way it was. There are differences in the PC market versus the console market, the kind of games that get popular, the kind of games that really grab the main shooter audience of the PC versus the shooter audience of the console, and also just the fact that indie games have a much bigger presence on the PC. A big experimental indie shooter just isn't going to get a chance on the console the way it's going to get a chance on the PC, and that's how we got games like H1 and PUBG. But I'm giving you all this context on the PC market and the state of the PC market in the months, year-ish leading up to Blackout's launch, because that is incredibly important. Call of Duty was hosted on Steam up until Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 was the first Call of Duty game to not be released on Steam. Instead, it was released exclusively on Battle.net. And, as many of you probably remember from this time period, the Battle Royale market was entirely up for grabs. The big Battle Royale games on the PC in late 2017, mid to late 2017, the pre-Fortnite days, the two big Battle Royale games were PUBG, and then 50 miles behind it was H1. Because not only was PUBG blowing up for its own reasons, but also H1 had completely shit the bed with the infamous combat update that caused a lot of people to just drop it and go over to PUBG because now there was a proper competitor. And then when Fortnite came on the scene and was basically PUBG but more cartoony and with less bugs, again, the audience was completely up for grabs and a lot of people jumped ship over to Fortnite. There was a really cool and genuinely kind of exciting, conflict between the various Battle Royale games on Steam. And, obviously Fortnite wasn't on Steam, but it was holding its own. There was a really big shooter market on Steam, there was a really big BR market on Steam, and then Epic Games came in and put their foot in the water with Fortnite, which was basically the only reason to have the Epic Games launcher at that point. But then there was Battle.net. Battle.net had no other Battle Royale games. Battle.net was also not the go-to place for shooters, unless it was Overwatch, because that was literally the only shooter on Battle.net. And a lot of people today have a lot of gripes with the technical aspects of Battle.net, with the interface of Battle.net, the social features of Battle.net, the pricing of Battle.net. It was worse. Believe it or not, it was so much worse back then too. So basically the only reason to have Battle.net as a player of shooters was if you played Overwatch. And as many of you probably know, the overlap between Overwatch players and just FPS players in general, let alone Battle Royale players, that Venn diagram doesn't look super connected. Overwatch is a very unique game, and it's nothing even close to a Battle Royale. The rollover just wasn't there. So going into Black Ops 4, Blackout had a severe disadvantage with what was, at the time, the target audience for a Battle Royale mode, which was the hardcore PC FPS player. Activision made the decision not to release Blackout in the place where it would be easiest for it to compete with PUBG and H1. And to this day, I'm still not sure why they did that. My main theory is greed. You know, if they force you to download Battle.net, they force all these non-Battle.net players to get on Battle.net for Black Ops 4, then they can also be like, oh, I never thought about Overwatch, I never thought about World of Warcraft, but man, now that I'm here, I might as well buy those as well. You know, the delusion that every major PC game publisher has when they make their own launcher instead of just putting the game on Steam where everyone already is. It's basically just a very shallow, stupid, short-sighted way of eliminating your own competition, but it never plays out the way you want it to because PC gamers aren't stupid. It's not that PC gamers don't know about the games on your launcher, it's that we don't want them. But anyways, I'm sure if you watch my channel, you know how I feel about alternative PC launchers. But anyways, so not only was Black Ops 4 starting off on a really bad foot for the PC community, but it was also starting off on a terrible foot because if you wanted to play Blackout, because again, I keep saying again, or like as you guys know, because that's really what stings so much. I don't mean to be repeating myself or sounding elitist like that, but that's kind of what makes the failure of Blackout sting so much, is because all of the things contributing to its failure were so obvious. So not only were you launching on a PC platform where the target PC audience was not hanging out, but you were also launching the game for full price. A lot of the people who you were marketing the game to, you know, the Battle Royale players, people playing games like Fortnite, which was free, H1Z1, which was like $15, PUBG, which was like $30. You were launching the game at a full $60 and marketing it to people who were not going to pay that much for it. And on top of that, during this time, and I guess now too, this really hasn't gotten a lot better, but Call of Duty on PC had a really bad reputation at this point, especially after Infinite Warfare and World War II. Black Ops 3's PC port was actually pretty solid, but Infinite Warfare's PC port was a complete disaster. It ran fine, it had a decent amount of technical hiccups, but the main problem with Call of Duty on PC was this bizarre thing that Activision was doing where they effectively had two different versions of the game. If you bought a physical version of the game, which was still a lot of people, because again, this was the mid-2010s when, you know, physical copies of PC games were still relatively popular, but if you bought a physical copy of Infinite Warfare and installed it, you were only playing with people who also had physical copies of Infinite Warfare, meaning that the Steam version of Infinite Warfare was running its entirely separate community, and this led to Infinite Warfare having abysmal player counts, and especially Modern Warfare Remastered, which is a game that for all intents and purposes should have popped off on PC, because COD 4 still to this day has a community on PC. And then COD World War II was just completely riddled with cheaters. There was like no security at all on the COD World War II PC port. I don't remember if it had the same problem where the community was artificially split if you bought a disc, but it definitely had a massive security problem. I do remember that for sure. So just to recap, you're taking Blackout, your attempt to capitalize on the popularity of Battle Royale shooters, which is a genre that was PC-centric at its core. At this time, at least, it was absolutely a PC-centric genre that was starting to make its way over into the consoles. You took that and basically stacked all of the odds against the PC version of the game right out of the gate. You were selling it for full price, You were putting it on a service that the target audience for PC shooters was not using, and this is all on top of the fact that you, as a franchise, had been treating the PC buyer base like garbage for years at this point. This would be the point of the video where I ask, what did you think was going to happen? But believe it or not, it still gets worse. So Black Ops 4 was actually a pretty good port. All things considered, the PC port of Black Ops 4 was actually pretty solid, and there were some interesting ideas, but again, it's not like that mattered, because if the goal was to get Call of Duty's foot into the Battle Royale market, did you hear my voice crack? If the goal was to get Call of Duty into the Battle Royale market, you had utterly failed. You utterly failed. And at this point, you could say, well, they succeeded with the console version, but that's really not true either, because the console version was, again, a full-priced Battle Royale game. That's a hard sell, and I think we can all agree that if Blackout had been released on Steam separately, it would still have a population. In fact, that's my theory as to why the game is still not on Steam. Because even though Activision moved all of their Call of Duty games, all the new releases to Battle.net and stopped releasing on Steam, they have since gone back and added those games to Steam and started launching on Steam again. You know, Modern Warfare 2019, Black Ops Cold War, and Vanguard were retroactively added to Steam, I think earlier this year, might have been late last year, I forget. But Black Ops 4 is now the only Call of Duty game post-COD 3 to not be on Steam. And I absolutely believe that is because it would be showing up Warzone on the PC. Because Blackout was a great game. It was a very fun Battle Royale game. And I absolutely believe that if it was put on Steam, you know, a service where most PC shooter players are hanging out, a place where most PC Battle Royale players are hanging out, and I mean, it's the service where Call of Duty hangs out now, it's where Warzone is hosted now. I absolutely believe that if Blackout were added to Steam today, it would take a pretty massive chunk out of Warzone's PC player base. And since Steam charts are public, that's probably not the kind of, you know, PR kick in the nuts that Activision wants, regardless of the fact that it would be good for everyone. It would be good for the franchise, it would be good for the players, but this is also the same company that refused to release Blackout as a standalone game, despite them trying to compete with other standalone Battle Royale games. You can call it greed, you can call it cluelessness, but I absolutely believe that if Blackout had been released separately on PC as a standalone game for $20, $30, at a time where standalone Battle Royale games were a very small market, and it came out on Steam where, you know, the PC Battle Royale players were hanging out, you know, Fortnite being the weird exception, I absolutely believe Blackout would still be populated to this day. And because Blackout would still be populated to this day, Warzone would probably look very different. It's these kinds of things that make me actually kind of excited now that Activision has been taken over by Xbox, because, you know, say what you will about, you know, giant corporation buying another giant corporation, but we already see the trickle-down effect of ongoing games. Overwatch, almost overnight after the Activision acquisition, has started making a bunch of changes that the community has been asking for, and that the Overwatch team has been open about Activision basically just not letting them do. And now that they're under new management, they can do those things. I'm actually excited about the future of Call of Duty now that Xbox is calling the shot, and Bobby Kotick's influence is basically irrelevant. Because say what you will about Phil Spencer and the way he runs his business, it's also no secret that he is a gamer. He understands these things much more than most gaming CEOs do. Does that mean Blackout's going to be added to Steam? Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know if they're going to put Black Ops 4 on Steam. I don't know if they're going to put Blackout on Steam. I don't know if they want that kind of embarrassment, because I think we all know that it would inevitably come with embarrassment. Blackout being put on Steam would generate a gigantic resurgence of players, and again, since the Steam charts are public, that's probably not the kind of shot in the arm that Activision or the Call of Duty team really want. They probably don't want there to be a public website basically just screaming out to the world that they used to be better at this. Blackout is just one of many examples of a giant AAA publisher completely misunderstanding who they're marketing their games to. The game was great. It was genuinely one of the best Battle Royale games of its time, and even by modern Battle Royale game standards, I think Blackout would be able to hold its own against games like Apex, games like Warzone, games like Fortnite, games like PUBG. It wouldn't be the top of Steam charts. It probably wouldn't be, you know, top 10 Steam charts all the time, but it would be top 20. At worst, it'd be top 30, and that's something, right, for a game that old? So I guess this is where I plug a hashtag or something. I don't know, hashtag Blackout on Steam, or hashtag BO4 on Steam. Fuck it, let's do both of those. Hashtag Blackout on Steam, hashtag BO4 on Steam. And yeah, let's see if we can do that. I don't know. I don't know how people start trends. I'm just here. I'm just a dude with a mic, and I'm just a dude with a microphone and a cup of coffee. Yeah, so that's why Blackout died so dead. Okay, toodles.